It is so good to have you here. My name is Laura Murphy. I'm here on behalf of TechConnect, and we are kicking off the informational webinar for the Safety Innovation Challenge Energy Control. And so we're seeking solutions for workplace hazard of energy control. And today we're going to talk a little bit more about the challenge itself, the scope, sort of what the incentives look like, and just have a better understanding also of a post-challenge grant program. So to share all of that with us and give us context, I'm joined by Hannah Everett. She's Senior Program Manager for Work to Zero at the National Safety Council, our one of our favorite partners, and we're really excited to hear from her. If you want to check out what's on the screen right now, you can get to our website with the QR code if you need to go there. And then also, as we go through the webinar, just be sure that you ask your questions in the control panel. You can put them in, and at the end, we'll get to as many as we can. And if we aren't able to get to everything, then we'll follow up with you afterward and make sure that you're ready, have your questions answered, and can submit a strong response. So I'll turn it over to Hannah, and then we'll get into your questions in just a little bit. So let me pass you the presenter role, my friend.
Great. I'm going ahead and pull up my PowerPoint here. See if I can share my screen. Share. Okay, can you see the PowerPoint?
I see it. Just looking at presenter mode, but I can see it pulled up. There you go. That's great.
Okay, so now you can see it full screen?
Full screen. Perfect.
All right, wonderful. So thank you, Laura, for the introduction. As she mentioned, I'm Hannah. I'm the Senior Program Manager for the Work to Zero program here at the National Safety Council. And I'm excited to get the opportunity today to share with you guys some information about our 2026 Safety Innovation Challenge on Energy Control, otherwise known as Lockout Tagout. So before we jump into the details, let's talk a little bit about the National Safety Council, who we are, what we do. We are America's leading nonprofit safety advocate. We were founded in 1913 after the deadly Triangle Shirtwaist Factory fire. We have over 13,000 member companies covering 41,000 or more than 41,000 work sites. And our mission is to eliminate the leading causes of preventable death and injury so people can live their fullest lives. And we do this through programming that affects both the workplace and the roadway. So we offer first aid training. We also offer consulting services for organizations interested in implementing safety technology programming in their workplace. The Work to Zero program specifically focuses on safety technology, which we'll cover in a little bit. But if you're interested in learning more about all of the various programming of the National Safety Council, take a quick screenshot or a scan of that QR code, and it should take you to our member services page where you can learn a little bit more about what is included if you become a member, and as well as the various other trainings and support services that we offer as a council. Oops, hold on. There we go. So let's talk a little bit about Work to Zero specifically. So Work to Zero is a program within the National Safety Council that was founded in 2019. And our mission is to eliminate workplace fatalities through the use of innovative technologies. We were founded by the McElhatton Foundation. And we have done extensive work over the last few years in building out sort of research reports, white papers, and building out strategic programming to help get technology into the hands of those who need it through opportunities like our Safety Innovation Challenge and the grant program that follows. So our approach to fulfilling our mission includes what I like to call 3 key pillars. The first is through research. So we research the most effective technologies and ways to integrate them into the workplace. If you visit our website, which is nsc.org/work-to-zero, you can find a list of the various different white papers, reports, and case studies that we've published over the years that help us to sort of provide that informational material about what technologies are most effective, how they've been deployed, as well as learning how you can get them deployed in your workplace through what we call our safety innovation journey. So I encourage you to check those resources out. Second, we also offer educational resources and opportunities. So in addition to producing the research materials. We also present at conferences. We give webinar opportunities. We co-host webinars with various other organizations like the NCCCO Foundation and AIHA. So we really want to make sure that individuals that are looking for technologies can have access to the educational resources and sort of materials to be able to activate those in the workplace and learn how to do that. And then lastly, we operate with partnerships. So we foster key partnerships with organizations, as I mentioned, like the NCCCO Foundation or AIHA, in order to strengthen the work, not only of Work to Zero, but of the work that they're doing in their industries as well. We do have a Work to Zero Advisory Council, which consists of about 50 members across a variety of different industries, such as insurance, construction, manufacturing, consulting, to help guide some of the work and the outputs that we produce and make sure that we're producing valuable materials for individuals that need them. And our work is made possible in partnership with the McElhatton Foundation, as well as the work of the Safety Innovation Challenge and the grants that we're going to talk about today. So big shout out to the McElhatton Foundation for helping to make today's webinar and the resources that we offer possible. So let's jump right into the good stuff about the Safety Innovation Challenge and the Safety Technology Pavilion. So the Safety Innovation Challenge is an opportunity for safety technology solution providers to showcase their dynamic and innovative technologies within the boundaries of a specific hazard at our challenge taking place at the NSC Congress and Expo in September. So what this consists of is 10 safety technology providers will be selected after our application process closes on June 10th to exhibit and showcase at our Congress and Expo in Indianapolis. So you will participate in our Safety Technology Pavilion, which is a corridor. It's a specific section of the Expo floor at Congress, where you'll get a booth, a monitor, and be able to do live demos of your technology to the attendees. And then we'll have a voting process to determine who will be the top 3 sort of semi-finalists in the challenge. And then you'll get an opportunity to live demonstrate in front of a larger audience on stage. You can see an example here. These photos, the top 2 photos are of sort of what the pavilion traditionally looks like. And then that third photo is one of our past participants giving their live demo at Congress. So as I mentioned before, the NSC Safety Innovation Challenge this year will be taking place at our Congress and Expo, which will be in Indianapolis, September 11th through the 17th. If you are selected to be one of our top 10 participants, we would expect you to arrive sometime on the 13th of September. We do have sort of professional development seminars taking place on the 11th and 12th. So we'll go through a little bit more about the specifics of what it would look like if you're selected as a participant to attend. But mark your calendars for our Safety Innovation Challenge taking place in Indianapolis. So let's talk a little bit more about the specifics of this challenge and what exactly it is that we are looking for in terms of energy control and lockout tagout. So this year's Safety Innovation Challenge focuses on highlighting innovative technologies that can identify, secure, and communicate hazardous energy risks in the workplace to drive down rates of injuries and fatalities. So the kinds of technologies that we're looking for this challenge must either detect hazardous energy risks in the workplace, secure an energy source to permit work to be performed safely, or communicate lockout tagout in the immediate vicinity, or communicate lockout tagout to discharge to the safety professionals. So this could include anything from actual physical materials, so an actual lock or a QR code, or it could be something more in the AI space. I've seen, for example, AI technology that aligns with CCTV cameras that can sort of detect when various different checkpoints have been made. So the possibilities are endless in terms of the types of technologies, and we don't want to be too limiting. But if you feel that you have a technology that can control hazardous energy in one of these 4 ways, please consider applying. A couple of facts about energy control and lockout tagout. Um, my So failing to properly lock out tagout equipment was the third most frequently cited violation by OSHA in 2024. An estimated 120 workers annually are killed by uncontrolled energy discharges. 50,000 workers annually are injured on the job by exposure to hazardous energy. And on average, it takes a worker 24 days to recover from an accidental exposure to hazardous energy. So this sort of gives you a really strong idea of why we have selected hazardous energy control as our key hazard this year. It's really a very hot sort of area of interest for our funder. And we really want to make sure that we're doing everything that we can to identify these kinds of technologies to mitigate these incidents, these workplace incidents, and get that technology out to start saving lives. If you are interested in applying for the Safety Innovation Challenge, I do like to share sort of an overview of what the National Safety Council calls our hierarchy of controls in terms of what is considered most effective versus least effective in eliminating serious injuries and fatalities in the workplace. So we keep this in mind when we're reviewing applications to make sure that we're identifying technology solutions that are going to be most effective in terms of mitigating certain risks. So for example, most effective would be eliminating the risk entirely. Second would be substituting or replacing the source of risk with less hazardous alternatives, engineering and controls versus administrative controls. And then least effective would be more in the PPE space. So make sure to take a picture of this. You can also access it at nsc.org. It's a really, really great resource as you're thinking about safety technologies in your workplaces as well for what is considered most effective versus least effective. So let's jump back a little bit to the challenge itself and what is sort of included. What are the perks for innovators that are participating? So the first is you get to present to an audience that may differ from those at most safety and health conferences. The National Safety Council's Congress and Expo has some over 10,000 participants every year. I think last year we had over 12,000. So it really gives you great visibility across the biggest portion of the safety and health space. So it's a great way to get that visibility. Second is it's an opportunity for prototype and early stage technologies and solutions to showcase. So when you apply for the challenge, we do want to make sure that your technology is safety ready. In the sense that we can't have it be like in the blueprint phase where you don't quite have yet something ready to market, but we do like to support organizations that are sort of in that small or early stage solution. So if you, for example, have a technology that can support with hazardous energy mitigation, but you haven't applied it there yet, that's sort of something that we would be interested in. But we need to make sure that you're sort of ready for that activation so you can be ready to showcase in September. But it's, again, a great way to get that visibility for those early stage tech solutions. You also get an opportunity to receive expert feedback on your solution, both through the application process and through participating in the Safety Technology Pavilion at Congress. You'll get an opportunity to meet professionals from all walks of life that are going to be able to provide feedback on ways you can improve or other considerations you have for your technology. You'll also get a travel stipend for your attendance to the Safety Technology Pavilion of up to $4,500. And if you're selected as a winner of the challenge, you'll receive a complimentary partnership plan to our NSC Tech Hub Marketplace. The Tech Hub Marketplace is a project within the Work to Zero program that's designed to be kind of a one-stop shop, if you will, for organizations that are looking for safety technology. We have about 30 vendors listed there now, and we're definitely always wanting the marketplace to grow. So if you are selected as the winner, you'll receive that complimentary plan, and we can get a profile set up for you, get some of your insights and your sort of informational PDFs loaded on there to make sure that NSC members and safety technology professionals that are actively looking for safety tech can have access to your information on the marketplace. Um, Now I'm going to talk about sort of part two of the Safety Innovation Challenge, which is a really, really great perk and benefit to keep in mind. So I would say phase one of the Safety Innovation Challenge is exactly what we've just discussed, where we have 10 participants that you've gone through the application process, you've been selected, you go to the Safety Tech Pavilion in Indianapolis and you present. Then phase two is having an opportunity to be involved in our pilot grant program. So all 10 safety technology providers, all 10 participant providers will get access to up to $20,000 to pilot their technology with a client of their choice. And this could either be somebody that you connect with at Congress during your time in the Safety Technology Pavilion, or this could be a client that perhaps you've been wanting to work with for a while, but maybe, money is a major issue and it's a barrier to them being able to partner with you. So we will give you access to up to $20,000 to participate in a pilot and to apply. Priority will be given to small to medium-sized and minority-owned businesses, meaning that the grantee, the organization that you choose to work with, has to fulfill that requirement of being a small to medium-sized business or minority-owned business. You'll be working with the NSC Work to Zero team to build a case study for your pilot, with the duration of that case study being around 6 months. You'll get to attend regular check-in meetings with the Work to Zero team to track your progress, and then you'll present your findings at our next NSC Congress and Expo in 2027. So I should also note that participation in the pilot grant program is not a guarantee because you are selected as one of our 10 participating solution providers. There will be a competitive application process for the pilot grant program that will open after the execution of the Safety Technology Pavilion. And funds are limited. So, we will sort of choose who the most competitive applications are. But being one of our top 10 participants does give you sort of guaranteed access to that opportunity. Some key program dates, and I know Laura had mentioned she can sort of cover some of the dates in terms of the application process, but the applications for the Safety Innovation Challenge will close on June 10th, which is just right around the corner. And then in early July, we're going to announce who our 10 participating solution providers will be. And then in mid-July, we'll have an orientation and a check-in call with those 10 participating providers, just to sort of give you some additional information about what expectations will be for attending the conference, what materials you should plan on bringing, how to file to get your $4,500 reimbursement, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll get you completely onboarded to the process. And then the Congress itself will run September the 13th through the 16th if you're participating in the challenge. If you want to come early on September 11th and participate in our professional development sessions, please do. But the expectation for the participants will be to arrive on the 13th. And then in late September, after Congress is over, we will open the pilot grant program and the application process there. The applications will close in late October, and then we'll announce the pilot grant recipients in early December and kickstart that program into the new year. So if you're interested in learning a little bit more after attending this webinar and getting sort of the high level, broader overview about the challenge, and you want to learn more about what our evaluation criteria looks like, what eligibility criteria looks like, rules and more, or you just want to see some general FAQs, you can visit the dedicated website. Thanks to TechConnect for assembling that in partnership with our team, so that you can learn a little more about sort of the finer details about the challenge and how we'll be evaluating the applications.
Awesome. Thanks, Hannah.
Awesome. Yeah.
That's great. I have no notes. I thought maybe I'll need to add anything in, but I don't think so at all. Um, I'll say if anyone here on the call has questions, as I mentioned earlier, go ahead and drop those into the control panel. We've got some coming in, so I'll start with them, but just don't forget, because if you ask something that we don't get to today or don't have an answer for, or something, we can still connect with you later on that. So in the chat, you'll see a link to the website that Hannah just had on screen. So feel free to click off to that afterward and go, dig in a little bit more. But I think this was a really thorough interview, um, thorough explanation, Hannah. So thank you so much. One thing I'll mention about the application itself is that we only accept non-confidential responses. So when you apply, just ensure that anything you include is not confidential, and attachments and things like that that you may add do not have any marks of that nature, because we cannot accept those. All right, so let's get into questions. Are there any blocking eligibility requirements outside of being safety ready or beyond the blueprint phase of development that you mentioned, Hannah?
Yes, so we do have a restriction on organizations who have won the challenge in the last 5 years. So if you are a solution provider who has participated in a past safety technology or safety innovation challenge, excuse me, in the last 5 years, and you were a winner of that challenge, then you are ineligible to apply. We also have a variety of different international countries that if your organization is headquartered in any of the sort of currently restricted trade embargo countries, then you are also ineligible to apply. There is more information on the link to the website that we shared, the energycontrol.techconnect.org. So if you want to see if your organization falls within one of those restricted countries, you can view the list there.
Great, thank you. How mature should a solution be to be competitive? Do we have like a TRL sweet spot or stage of development that you feel like is most appropriate?
That is a really good question. And I would say, as long as you feel that you're going to be sort of ready to have a technology that's able to pilot by the time the pilot grants launch, then you could be competitive. So it's, for example, it's late May right now. You would need to have sort of the technology ready to provide to demo and showcase at the pavilion in September. And then you would certainly need to be able to scale that solution to be able to pilot it, start if you do decide to pursue the pilot grants in the fall. So I don't know if that answers the question, but we really just need to make sure that you're not necessarily looking for seed funding in the sense that you have a singular prototype or a singular blueprint and you're hoping to use the safety technology pavilion to find someone to seed fund or capital fund the sort of marketable build out of the technology, but really you're at that stage where you're sort of ready to go to market, but you want to take it to the next level and start activating some of those more ambitious clients. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do. I think that's helpful. If you still have a question about that, then please submit it and we can keep talking about development level. But I think that's helpful. Are there others beyond the top 10 who get access to the grant opportunity?
That's also a great question, and the answer is no. If you are not selected to be one of our 10 participants, then the grant opportunity is closed. The grant opportunity is only for the 10 participants. But it's important to keep in mind, because I know that there's sometimes some confusion that sometimes the participants think, oh, well, I have to have been a semi-finalist to qualify for the grants, right? Like I have to have been selected and voted for in the top 3. And I'm like, no, 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 all 10, regardless of whether you're selected as the top 3 semifinalists or regardless of whether or not you're voted on as the winner, they all get access to apply to that grant funding.
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, having an exclusive access like that is really big. All right, so someone else pulling on that same thread. How does a company connect with a partner for the grant program? What's the process of a grantee, I guess you would say?
That's a great question. So I would say that there's two main avenues for that, just depending on how large your current client database is. The first is we have seen a lot of organizations have success with finding clients during their time in the Safety Technology Pavilion at Congress. So I have seen participants sort of, be engaged with someone during their time at the Tech Pavilion and say, hey, by the way, there is going to be this grant program that'll open up. If you're interested in piloting our technology, here's my business card. Let's connect after the conference and start working on a joint application. I've also seen other providers that have clients in their database who they know that they want to work with already. And again, this would be from organizations that are a little more established, but they are aware of the fact that, hey, this client that we've been trying to cultivate for 2 years is very, very price sensitive, and we're not able to come to an agreement without the additional sort of assistive buffer of what that $20,000 can provide. So it sort of helps take someone who's already interested in being a client who you were aware of before the challenge over the finish line. So it really just depends on sort of where you're at in terms of finding clients. But I think those are the two most common ways that I have seen organizations find clients. You're also more than welcome to promote, your participation in the challenge and your participation in that grant program throughout your time working with us. So if you wanted to include it in your newsletters, or if you wanted to sort of get the word out there, make a post on your social page, you're more than welcome to do that as well.
When did the funds typically get dispersed? So like decisions made about that process. You said it kind of kicked off in December, right?
Yes, I can jump back over to, I don't know if this will let me go
Just thinking
back.
about like a life cycle, and so they kind of have a
So
system.
that,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so I think I don't know if you can see see if I can share this screen from current slide, but I did outline the calendar milestones. I'll just stop sharing and see if I can reshare. So the pilot grant recipients, we're hoping to announce them in early December, and then have the grant funds distributed sometime in January.
Wow,
It does take a little bit of time. I'm sorry.
that's fast.
Yeah, it does take a little bit of time to kind of, gather together the agreements and the documentation, but we do want to make sure that those funds get dispersed, usually within about 30 days of announcing the winners. With the holiday season coming up around that time, it might be a little more difficult, but we're hoping by January to get the funds dispersed, and then you would have 6 months to run the pilot with the expectation that you would demonstrate your results at Congress of 2027, which will be in September.
Cool. That's great. That gives a good life cycle sense for those who get to enter the 10. You're in a nurture cycle with NSC. You're part of the ecosystem in a really real way. You get a full year on Tech Hub Marketplace. You get, engagement in this exclusive opportunity, and that opportunity carries you around all the way to the next event. So I think that's a cool feature that you guys are having here. One other question: can a solution focus on training and human performance, or should it only directly control or isolate hazardous energy?
That is also a very good question. Um, Let me think about that for a quick second. I I would say go back and look at the eligibility requirements that are more because the PowerPoint slide that I shared that showed sort of what we're looking for gave sort of a higher level overview of how your technology can detect, secure, communicate lockout, tagout. But there's more descriptive information on the website about exactly what we would be looking for there. I would say if you can make an argument that your technology can fulfill one of those four requirements, then yes. I don't want to say just a flat no, because I have seen applications that come through the challenge that are quite creative and in their ability to filter themselves into one of those four categories. But if check out the website, read a little bit more information about those four control areas that we're looking for, and if you feel that your technology can pose a compelling argument for one of those four, then I would say go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, great. It is tricky. It's kind of a secondary reach into those, so could
I
be
know, and
some.
I don't want to say no because, one of the things that we're really interested in within Work to Zero, and one of the things that our funder is particularly interested in, is identifying technologies that are really ready to kind of bridge that gap. Like maybe their technology has been really focused in the MSD space, but they know they can pose an argument for implementing it, for example, let's say in the fatigue space. So just because you haven't had that experience yet doesn't mean that we don't want to be your partner to help you get there. As a matter of fact, that's one of the sort of indirect goals of the Safety Innovation Challenge. In addition to getting the information about the safety technology out there to individuals that want to use it, we also want to help the technology solution providers sort of take their tech to the next level, and be their partner to help them do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Um, if I make it to the final pitch, what does that format look like?
That is a great question. So as I mentioned before, the way that the final pitch looks like is all 10 participants will present during Congress, and then we'll have a voting session to vote for who those top three will be. If you're selected as the top three, there's going to be a live presentation where you would create a PowerPoint, and you would live demo your technology. Usually it's between 3 to 5 minute presentation with those top three on the main stage. I'm still gathering information at this moment about what that main stage outline is going to look like, but it will most likely be a platform that's going to be on the expo floor, sort of like a learning lab type setup, where you would have the opportunity to then demo on that stage in the expo floor. But more details to come as we sort of unfold the deeper logistics of Congress as a whole.
Okay, that sounds great. Can multiple organizations submit jointly? How would that work if they proceeded?
I'm not sure what that question is specifically pinpointing. Like
Maybe
two
it's a,
solution providers that
it sounds like a lead off of the question that we kind of were unsure about before about training and performance, maybe having a partner that takes the second step of that. Um, but I'm not really sure. I think if you were a multiple organization, there'd have to be a way to um, I guess I would be curious. I don't know because it's
I'm
research level. It's
hesitant to
probably
say,
not.
right. I'm hesitant to say no. I'm hesitant to say, or I'm leaning towards no. I'm like, we want the solution providers that apply for the challenge to be a standalone solution provider. So we
Mhm.
wouldn't necessarily want, you know, uh, two providers to be sharing the same booth at the Safety Tech Pavilion. I think that might get rather confusing and it would make the voting process quite difficult. However, I have seen organizations apply that, for example, maybe they're owned by another company, but the patent for the technology exists within. So then it sort of feels like you're applying as two companies, but you're not really. You're really only submitting an application for the one technology. Now,
Yeah.
if that question was talking about the pilot grant program, there is the possibility to submit joint applications
Mm.
in the sense of we have had, let's say a grantee, for example, wants to work with your solution and you're one of the top 10 providers, but in order to activate your solution, they need also to invest in an EHS platform. So you can bake that work with that other tech into the grant proposal because it's a necessary component to do the pilot grant. So
Okay.
that's the only instance in which I would say we would receive a joint proposal, and that's only for the pilot grants, not for the Safety Innovation Challenge itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. What characteristics of successful finalists in the last safety innovation challenges shared? Is there anything you've noticed as a thread, I guess, now that you've done a few of these? Or is it
That
always
is
similar?
also that's also a really good question. So our last challenge, which we launched in spring of this year, was on workplace fatigue. The challenge before that was on heat stress. And I would say one of the biggest things that we look for when we're reviewing the applications is, that highly innovative solution, something that maybe is sort of out of the box. For example, we see a lot of EHS softwares that apply. But what makes you different? What makes you unique? There's dozens and dozens of EHS softwares out there. We really have a vested interest in bringing to the stage those technologies that maybe you never would have even thought existed, or no one has heard of, or it's something really thinking outside the box. I would say that's something that we're really looking for. We also like things that to be hands-on, safety tech that's really easy and dynamic to demo, because part of the expectation during your time at the Safety Technology Pavilion is to actively demo your tech. So if you're not able to do that, or if it's not ready or not complex, or it's too complex, then that might make it really difficult for you to participate in the challenge. But if you want to learn more information about how we evaluate the applications, because there is a strict sort of rubric criteria, I would say go to that website, and you can read about how we weight certain aspects of the applications during the review process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Definitely impact and evidence are two in the evaluation process that are the highest rated in terms of number of points that you get. So, is there evidence that it can be effective? How big of an impact could it have in actually achieving the goal? Um, so, if applicants are not selected, will they receive feedback? I can jump in and answer this one. So we typically do not provide feedback at the applicant stage. But if you end up going and participating in person, and you would like further engagement around um, you know how the transition from participant to semifinalist, or semifinalist to winner, like, we can have follow-on conversations with you if you're in the top 10 then. um, Hannah, do you have anything to add, I guess, to that? Does that sound right?
Nothing to add to that specifically, but what I typically recommend if you are not selected as one of our top 10 because the application process is highly competitive, I usually recommend attend the Safety Congress and Expo anyways. Get either send somebody
Yeah.
from your team to participate and just sort of bounce around, or exhibit through our traditional exhibitor booth platform, because if you are really interested in getting an idea about what kind of traction your technology has in this space, I think just participating in Congress and Expo is a really great way to get that feedback too, even if you're not selected as a participant. Or just attend, bounce around with your business cards. Can't
Yeah,
hurt.
that's a great idea. And the community is there, potential partners are there. So you have the ecosystem value as well, just the opportunity to connect in other ways too beyond the challenge. So that's a great suggestion. All right, do we have any other questions today? We've got some links in the chat. Thanks to Katie. She's in the background helping us out. As Hannah mentioned, and I put up on the screen as well, the URL to the website will give you more information on evaluation criteria, FAQs including export control countries and other kind of restrictions that you may want to be aware of. The big thing I'd say is just remember to submit a non-confidential response. That's really important. And our application deadline is June 10th. So be sure you get it in by then. We really want to hear what you have to say and see what you've been working on. And if you don't think you're a safety company, you might be. So if you have a technology that could do something in this space, try to explore how you could stretch into that area, because multidisciplinary, sort of like cross-functional technologies are often some of the most interesting and can yield really awesome results. So if this is a new area for you and a new group to be part of, well, then welcome, and hopefully you find a home here as well. So we are excited that you all could make it and look forward to seeing your applications. And thank you, Hannah, so much for joining.
Yeah, thanks for opening the platform and creating a space for us to share this information. And I look forward to reviewing applications from many of you who've joined us on this call today.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.